just like in church.
And if there's, I think there's more sitting around the wall. if you run out.
Yeah. Well, you know, they always say you don't want to sit front row necessarily.
Yeah, we are always parade in front of the front pew because we were late.
Okay, take care.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order and start with invocation by Henry, followed by the flag salute.
Father in heaven, we thank you for the blessings you bestow on us. Lord, I pray that you will give our commissioners your guidance and wisdom in the business before them today. And looking at the agenda, Lord, it seems like there are going to be some hot button issues discussed here today. Lord, help us to remember that we're all citizens of Marion County. We're all brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. Let us not forget Jesus' commandment to love one another as he has loved us. Let us be respectful of each other today. And Lord, it seems we're facing some inclement weather coming up. I would pray that you would protect our farmers, our ranchers, and our communities from destructive forces. Lord, I offer this prayer in the name of our Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you have the agenda in front of you. First thing on the agenda this afternoon is county engineer position and related matters. Commission discussion. I'll ask either one of the commissioners if they have any discussion at this point.
Well, there's some things, the way it looks to me, and you're gonna have to work out
Right,
stuff, so.
right. That's part of it.
That's gonna be your discussion, isn't it?
Well, that'd be part of it.
Okay.
What are those items? I don't seem to have a list of what they are.
Oh, just the job descriptions.
Oh, well, I thought you already had that. Yeah,
Well, how's-
I have the job description, yeah, we had that.
Yeah.
We had that, so I guess I don't know where you're going with that.
Just asking how it's gonna partake with our, you know.
Well, what we have to do is we have to come up with a job description for our either our road superintendent or road supervisor, whatever that is going to be. We have a job description for our engineer.
We have a job description for a road supervisor as well.
Yes, and the supervisor, it appears to me that there's quite a bit of overlapping on the road. Well, on the road superintendent. The road and bridge superintendent and the county engineer. So, you know, I've been kind of going over responsibilities as a road supervisor, and whether that position under our engineer will become a road superintendent or a supervisor or whatever we call it, and exactly how the duties will line up.
So I guess my question is that something we can work out later? I mean, do we have to do that before we hire him?
No, we were just going to gather the information.
Well, I do have a question though.
Okay.
If you have, we do have a road superintendent currently employed,
Right.
and if you hire an engineer and the duties overlap, I think you probably need to know. I mean, I think that's what Brad
Yeah,
mentioned.
I think the intent was you've gone ahead and as a precursor to the potential for interviews and that sort of thing for your county engineer, developed a position description for that, which is fine. But now what you have, because that's never existed before, you've got some of the duties that you contemplate putting into the engineer's responsibility setting, things that are still listed on those other job descriptions. We need to make them consistent with each other if we can. that's the intent, at least that's what I understood the intent of having that discussion globally about, okay, how does this work and who's supervising whom, and to what extent does someone answer to someone else, and what duties and what roles are now taken by the county engineer based upon the description that we provided versus were listed under the other job descriptions pre-existing. So, just doing it as clear as you can.
Yeah. And I don't know if either of you had time to read over those.
No, I didn't know where you were going with it, so
Yeah,
I did read the job description of the engineer. Okay, so we got that. So the only one that we'd have to tweak then would be the road superintendent.
Pretty much.
Right.
Because
Right.
you've most recently done your county engineer job description, and if you're
Right.
comfortable with that, then it's a matter of, okay, how does that impact everyone else who's already in place and the job descriptions that you previously passed? So that would be the, yes, you're right, that would be the next step in it.
And my research of this, it appears that with a county engineer, the next position in line that actually has duties that differ would be the road supervisor.
Not the superintendent.
Not the superintendent,
Do
because
we
there's
even need a superintendent?
yeah, the superintendent's got overlapping.
Yeah, do we need a superintendent? If we have an
No,
engineer,
we can-
superintendent, supervisor, I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds like we have too many chiefs.
The title can be either way, I would guess. But the road supervisor is distinctly different in duties than the engineer.
So then, if we're not sure that we need the superintendent, if we decide that we don't need the road and bridge superintendent, and we just do away with that at this time, then we solve the problem. Because you said this.
Well, yeah, just, I mean,
description is
just by
different.
looking at job descriptions, we've got like I said, we've got overlap on the engineer and the superintendent. So
Right.
that job description may go out, I don't know. Whatever.
That would be my job, that would be my choice, just get rid of that position.
I mean, you have to look at some sort of chain, and, you know, I still think I think most of the problem is we don't have people out over our roads, clear to the east end, clear to the west end, clear to the north end, clear to the south end. And I think the way it has been is culvert supervisor really maybe didn't see the roads enough, so you still just have one person in charge and maybe a road supervisor under him, under the superintendent. So are we gonna change that and make sure that we have people seeing our roads so they know how things are? Or not? What are we gonna title them? You know, I mean, that's.
And the road supervisor could actually take over the road culvert
Yeah,
total overseeing
Yeah.
of that.
I mean, I realize it needs to be some structure inside once we have a person in charge, but to me, it looks like we need to cover our county with, somebody needs to cover our county and make sure they can, because the superintendent, or the engineer, is not gonna see all the roads all the time. Nobody sees our roads all the time, so I think, that's to me, somehow we need to accomplish that issue. That's what their job is, to be out there and see our roads, and that's what I want to
Even
do.
if you just start at the top of this, and you may well have already determined how you wish to proceed, but if you look at how these are constructed for the county over the years, you've got a department, well, road and bridge, that's consistent with all three, and nothing really that's an issue there. Your county engineer is going to fall under that, but then reports to, well, your county engineer is reporting to the county commission, your road and bridge superintendent currently is reporting to the county commission. Do you wish to leave it that way, or do you want it to go under the engineer? So that's the kind of revisions that need to be made to make this consistent. Then you've got a road bridge or road supervisor who now reports to the road and bridge superintendent. But if you eliminate that, that's what I'm saying, in order to make these consistent, basically we need to go through them at some point, whether that's
Yeah.
today or otherwise, but obviously the sooner the
Yeah,
better.
because they would be reporting to the engineer.
Yeah, if that's the intent, is to have that person head your department, and I think that's kind of been the general discussion, then there's shifting of some things in here, and then as I read through them, there's a significant overlap about, okay, you do this, well, now, wait a minute, it says that that's gonna be done by the county engineer, and it may well be the county engineer, as part of their normal job duties, if they're the one in charge, will say, there's certain things I'm gonna delegate and certain things I'm not, but we should memorialize as best we can a consistent set of duties that don't overlap too much between these three, otherwise you've got people going, what am I supposed to do? And who do I answer to? That's my thought.
But under the road supervisor, and it states right there at the very top, is responsible for supervising and directing the maintenance, repair, and activities of all Marion County roads. Well, that's gonna be a hands-on person that's gonna be out on the
Correct.
road
Correct.
every day.
And I don't know, to me, probably that name needs, that is title shift is all we're doing. And then taking some of the responsibilities.
Yeah, and who that person reports to.
Reports to, yeah. I believe it was road supervisors, I don't know for a fact, is what they was always under the main person before. I think they were the supervisors, I believe,
Yeah.
under superintendent.
Yes.
Was that the twos, what was their title, Jesse?
The most recent, the way that those have been titled most recently were the road supervisor and the bridge culvert supervisor, and that's what these two positions are. I was just trying to look through, and I haven't done that previously, to see if there are anything on the road and bridge superintendent that is not reflected on the engineer position and is not reflected on the supervisor position that would still need to be covered. That's something else you should think about, is don't leave a duty that is not assigned to anyone.
Yeah. But doesn't it appear that
And
the road supervisor could also be taking over that bridge and culvert also? That would all be all under one job description.
well, and you can take, just as you kind of just scanned down, as it struck me when I was first looking at it, your road and bridge superintendent currently is noted as maintains compliance with federal, state, and local regulations, laws, and ordinances pertaining to roads and bridges. Well, that's going to be your engineer. And then on your essential functions, when you deal with like your road supervisor, as you were pointing out, the employees in this position has responsibility for planning work, executing assignments, and directing subordinates, well, and also directing the maintenance and repair, and they've got that very broadly stated so far as it would have been previously, but a lot of that direction is going to come from and through your county engineer, I presume, based on how this is now written. So there's a significant amount of that that needs to at least be adjusted for us to make sure that they're consistent, and each of them knows, well, God, this is my assigned duty, what I'm supposed to do to fulfill my obligation to earn my pay, versus go to someone else and ask them questions about what direction do I need, what should I be doing.
Okay. So, you think we should take some time at the end of the agenda on Monday to do that? Or,
Yeah, or just figure out what you're gonna do. If Diane says do with road and bridge superintendent, well, that's one way, if that's your title underneath them, or else you're gonna put two new titles underneath of your engineer.
well, what we're saying is there might only be one new title under the engineer.
Okay.
If you went with road supervisor that covered bridge and culvert also.
Mhm. Can we have two people as a road supervisor?
I don't think we need to.
I don't
Do we need to? Do we need to? I don't think we need to.
You'll be right back to where you was at.
As far as what? In what way?
Just what I was talking about, covering the county. I mean,
Well, is that, don't the road graders cover the county, cover their areas? I mean, I know my road graders up in my district, they know their roads very well. Now, I know they ask for rock, or they do different things, they don't always get it, but they know the roads very well. So, I mean, doesn't some of that responsibility fall on the road grade?
well, it should, but
Yeah,
just ask the people right out here what they say. I mean, you could ask a bunch of them. I'm not opening it up yet, but that seems to be the problem that some of the people complain about, is they've got, is the motor grader operator gonna call the superintendent or the assistant superintendent, whatever, and say, I've got a heck of a hole? He should. Does he do it? I don't know. There's some roads that it's not covered, so there's tremendous holes over there. And our system needs to work together somehow.
But
Well-
if we have an engineer and the maintainer operators know from the get-go, they need to call him with that problem, so then he can delegate that problem down to the supervisor. I think maybe it's more of a communication problem
It is.
than just numbers.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that's the engineer's job, and it would be his job to set up his department to do that. I don't think we need to get into those type of weeds, really. I mean, that's kind of micromanaging there, in my opinion. Let him set up the department and let him run with it.
I mean, everybody's got radios. So, you know, I think if everybody is on the same page from the day the engineer starts his job, communication is going to be vital.
And I would agree that the engineer, once they're hired, will sort of take over and do some of this too. But you would have thought a road and bridge superintendent or anything would make sure that everything road's covered too. But I've sat here many years and the same complaint comes in. I think that lady standing up right there was one of the big ones a while back, and of the roads that was not covered and stuff like that. So if we're gonna make a move to hire a superintendent or an engineer, I want to see some progress in coverage. I would like the people clear to the Gossel area, clear to the Burdick area, to the Burns area, to up northwest, to make sure that they see that our roads are at least being covered or looked at, whether the motor grader has enough initiative to call and say things are wrong. But I think that's part of our problem, is it needs to get back to maybe the engineer or who's ever in charge so they can make a just decision.
And so I think also what you're saying there too is really, and it's very true, Randy, I agree with you. I think our road grade engineers need to have a little bit of an adjustment as to how they handle the roads, a little bit more direction, and maybe having somebody with those type of skills will solve that problem.
We always hear about the hot spots. Cold spots is not, we don't talk about them for a while till they get to be a hot spot. And then a hot spot, then they come here. That's all I'm caring. Whatever we do is set it up to where we can, and I personally am in favor of two people. We used to have a north-south in Marion County, a north-south person. Whether they stayed in the north one day and the south the next day, I don't know. But there was at least somebody in this area that maybe the grader operators could talk to instead of having 13 of them, 12 of them, 14 of them all coming to one person. And so maybe that assistant always went.
Well, you know, the engineer, whoever the engineer is going to be, is going to have to know how to delegate. And if he's got a subordinate under him, that person's going to have to take the bull by the horns. And so I think, I don't know, I'm sitting here listening to, this is a communication problem more than it is a personnel problem.
It seems to be. You want a chain of command, and this is what you're going to have, one of each, a road and bridge, road supervisor and a county engineer. Well, then you take the superintendent out and throw him out the door. So.
Well, you throw the job title.
Job out there, yeah.
Job title is
Yeah.
all you're throwing out the door.
Right.
Okay.
You in agreement with
Yeah,
that?
throw them out.
So can we work on what we would call a road supervisor position without overlapping duties based on our engineer's job description?
In other words, meld the road and bridge superintendent job description one of two directions. Either, and it already exists in a lot of ways in your
Right.
county engineer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a pretty good template, but there's gonna have to be some changes on it.
And ultimately, with the county engineer in place, they're going to come into you with certain recommendations too.
Sure.
About how to run their department and what they want to do in
Yeah.
terms of job descriptions as well. I'm just trying to get it as a starting point. I think we were in terms of, all right now there's a lot of overlap. And we're not sure it's consistent. It's going to create problems almost from the start if we don't fix that much of it. But we could at least do that, put it into two, make sure that they're consistent with each other, and then go from there.
Okay, what is the right way to handle a current employee? Does that need to go in executive session sometime to handle that
Absolutely.
current employee?
Yeah.
And, okay. And see how we
Yeah, I
You remember
contemplated
that?
that one today anyway, in terms of contract negotiations and then anything in terms of current personnel. If we're going to discuss them specifically, then that's executive session.
You don't want to do that today?
Well,
No.
let's see, wanting to do that.
Are you requesting?
We probably should at least do some of that. There's pieces of that that we're planning to try to deal with today.
Okay, okay, well, I guess it's a good time to do it right now. How long do you think we need?
You're gonna need it.
30 minutes.
Yeah, I would say you're gonna need 30 minutes. Go 20 if you want to extend it. Do
Well,
that
we
too.
might as well go 30.
I agree with that, very probably.
Okay.
So would this be to discuss what's the topic? And I know it's under personnel matters.
Engineering and related positions.
Well, it has to be a specific topic.
Not elected personnel, specific discussion of current job descriptions
Current job duties of existing.
of existing personnel.
Okay, I'll move we recess into executive session in order to discuss number one, personnel matters of non-elected personnel, in order to discuss job duties of current personnel with the commission and Brad for 30 minutes until 2:50.
150.
150. That'd be a long one.
Yeah. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Out of executive session, no action taken. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to hire Bryce Goebel as Marion County Road and Bridge Engineer, starting pay rate of $80,000 per year, subject to a one-year contract to be negotiated.
I'll second.
Okay? And moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Under that one-year contract, that's, some of the terms will be laid out to.
That's subject to,
be-
the whole offer is subject to negotiation.
Subject to negotiation.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
While we're still on this topic, Mr. Chairman, Tina just told me that Jesse is here. If there's any reason that you want to have any kind of discussion with him as current personnel in executive session, that's an option since he's present.
And I apologize, I did not get the motion down for the vote. Would you be willing to restate what the motion is?
Okay, the motion was to hire Bryce Goebel as Marion County Road and Bridge Engineer. Starting salary $80,000 per year, subject to a one-year contract to be negotiated.
Okay. And you made the motion?
I made the motion. Ryan seconded.
Okay.
So that's a contingent on seeing what the contract will be or not.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the commission's feelings about calling Jesse?
I think it needs to happen at sometime before we leave today. I mean, go on down the list here and gets.
Okay, what, do you know if he's gonna be in the rest of the time?
That's up to you guys.
He's going to be around. He wasn't going to attend the meeting unless he's needed. He will be around. I did notice that his truck is here. So
Okay.
if you want me to ask him to, stay close, then I can do that.
That would be good.
I'm going to contact him.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on then. Zoning regulation, Article 27. Brad?
I'm going to have to interject on this one.
Okay.
It's unexpected. In the last hour or so, been made aware of the fact that we've confirmed filing of a legal action against the county in 19 CV 24. It's not been served upon us yet, but it relates to, at best I can ascertain without having further service.
I didn't understand what you said.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm having
can't hear
and he's having a hard time hearing it too.
I apologize.
I'm sorry.
That there has been litigation filed. There's a lawsuit filed against the county. And it's, as much as I know about it at the moment, is the subject matter are the wind turbines and wind farms. And as such, I'm going to strongly recommend here today that you table any public discussion about Article 27 or anything else until we get served with that and know what it is that it's dealing with, because invariably, this is going to be pertinent and germane, and So unfortunately, I don't think we can go any further with that today.
Okay. That discussion is ended.
Okay, so can I ask you this question then? Is this also pertinent, if we talk about, because it does say related matters, but this is a bill that we received from Pat Hughes for services rendered for various things, is that also?
Related to the wind energy and zoning regulation? As long as it's within
Yes, I would assume it is, yes.
as long as it's within the category, because the special meeting, obviously, we are constrained by what we've listed. And as long as it's directly related to that zoning regulation, Article 27, wind energy and related matters, then yes, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, discussion over.
all right.
Okay, call Jesse.
Okay.
When did you find out about that? Am I allowed to ask that question?
You are. I tried to call Janet earlier, and she was unavailable. I had a voicemail. And so at this point, we get certain. Well, they'll certainly, sure.
Service comes to the county clerk on those types of matters, and there has been no service like this.
Okay.
I would expect that to happen soon.
I see, all righty.
So like the whole entire thing is just another stay, or, I mean,
We're not moving forward on anything.
I just didn't know because he made a comment public forum, so I just didn't want it.
Oh, so you're saying it would be, oh, it would come to the clerk, so she'll probably, I'll answer that question.
I'm not sure what the question was, I'm sorry.
Well, you just said we need to table this for the public forum, and I just didn't want it.
Table of period.
Okay, that's correct.
Yeah, because the intent was to discuss all of this publicly today,
Sure.
obviously, since it's Article
Yeah.
27, and going through that whole thing, and now this came up the last, well, I found out about it in the last hour and a half. So I know nothing beyond that.
Yeah, okay.
Is Article 27, when we passed the other wind farm up in Tampa,
Is he allowed to discuss that?
I'm just wondering,
Just a
was
clarification.
these rules, was the other rules for Article 27 was in place for the wind farm in Tampa?
Yes, it was.
Yes?
Yeah, okay. So there was nothing wrong then?
That I can't answer. I don't know, it predates
I
me.
mean, I could answer that, but we're going to be discussing it yet.
Yeah, that's right, we want to
So I guess I
stop
will
right where we are.
Okay.
Jesse.
Jesse, please.
Okay, I'm gonna move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss, number one, personnel matters of non-elected personnel, pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, in order to discuss department job duties
Specific to the board.
specific to with Commission, Brad, and Jesse Ham.
Second.
Well, we haven't said how long yet. Okay. 15 minutes? 15 minutes? Okay, until 2:16. We'll resume back in open session. You second?
A second.
Okay, moved second, all in favor? Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. And that's the end of our agenda, so I'm gonna make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.